Greetings, everyone. A very warm welcome to another edition of Exhausted to Extraordinary, a mindset hack series with me, Dr. Sharon Grossman. And today I'm joined by Ari Meisel. A very warm welcome from San Francisco. And where are you hanging out?
Thank you. Good morning. I am in Brooklyn, New York currently.
Very nice. And I see you've got some cars in the background. So it looks like you're hanging out in like a parking lot or...
Yep. I'm just in between dropping my kids off and doing some client stuff and, waiting to pick them up to go back to where we live, which is currently in Princeton, New Jersey. Yes, I'm sitting in my Tesla, which can drive itself, but not doing that right now.
So if you haven't seen the inside of a Tesla, here's your preview. All right. Now, for those who don't know Ari, he really has an incredible story. He was one of those super driven people working 18 hours a day, eating fast food, drinking every night. He was stressed and $3 million in debt when he got diagnosed with Crohn's disease. The doctor put him on pills to alleviate the symptoms, but as a side effect, it also increased his chance of getting lymphatic cancer by 10,000%. So one day he was thinking about this and lost control of his truck. He slid off the road and miraculously emerged unharmed. But at that moment, he had an epiphany. He started asking, why has it always been done that way? What is the better option? And he began redesigning how he approaches everything in life. So now he spends less than 20 minutes a day on his business and helps thousands of entrepreneurs become more productive and conquer their feelings of overwhelm by creating systems and processes to free up their time too. So if that sounds like you, then listen up, because in just 7 minutes, Ari is going to share with you how to become more replaceable in your business. So our timer starts now. Question number 1, what are the biggest challenges your ideal client faces?
Overwhelmed, honestly. I mean, the majority of the people that I work with are in a situation where they have opportunity that exceeds their infrastructure. So that's the most common thing. So it's not somebody who's sort of struggling to make ends meet, or they're trying to figure out what their business is. It's really people who have a successful business for the most part, but they're becoming a victim of their own success. And there's too many things happening and too many things going on. And they just usually end up putting their head down and just working harder. And as you very well know, that's a recipe for burnout.
Yeah. So question number 2, what are the typical symptoms that they experience with that problem?
Ooh. Well, there's all these sort of generic psychological, emotional things you might think about with anxiety and pressure and stress, and they're people with chest pain and trouble breathing and trouble sleeping and all those things, which all get worse and worse and make each other worse. But what you often see happening is this sort of hoarding of the ego, I guess is one way of putting it. So they end up thinking more and more that they are more and more irreplaceable in their business, which is more and more pressuring. And it feels like they can't step away without the business crumbling in their absence. And more than that, it's this feeling of not knowing that things are sort of under control and taken care of because you don't have good systems and processes in place. So it's one thing to be like, oh, I've got a bad team. I know that they're going to screw this up, so I'll just fix it tomorrow. It's almost worse to be like, I think they got it. I'm not really sure they have it. And then you have that's like where the sleepless nights start happening, and you feel like you have to check everything, and then you're micromanaging and nobody's happy.
Yeah. Okay. 5 minutes and 1 second. Question number 3, what are the common mistakes they make when trying to solve that problem?
One thing is often not taking a look at the way that they're doing things now. And that sounds really obvious, but a lot of times people get into a mode, they get into a method, or, my mentor did this for the last 20 years, or this industry has been doing this for the last 40 years. So of course it's going to work. We just have to do it more and harder. So it's a lot harder. Forget harder, actually. It's a lot less sexy to fireproof than it is to firefight. And everyone loves to firefight as much as they hate it. They also love it but it's not what makes for a sustainable business.
Oh, I love it. You have some really catchy phrases. Oh, question number 4. What would be an example of a transformation that's possible after this challenge is properly diagnosed?
So a lot of this stuff is really about mindset. Honestly, it's not about a new piece of software or some really cool diagram that you need to put on the wall of your office. It's really about a different way of approaching the work that we do and understanding the different ways are possible. First of all, we don't just have to do it the way we're doing it because that's how we've been doing it and other people have been doing it. But ultimately, what you get is the freedom to leave the business if you so choose, which doesn't mean that you have to, but what it means is that you can. And in doing so, you can learn and discover and contribute those learnings back into the business while in your absence, the business was continuing to operate and grow without you.
Yeah. So 3 minutes and 18 seconds. Question number 5, speaking of mindset, what's the number 1 mindset hack you could give your ideal client to solve that problem?
You're not that unique. You're just not that unique. Stop thinking you're so unique and it all has to be on you. You just got to hustle more and nobody can do the way you do it. Only you know how to do it. Stop. You're not. There's 1,000 other people that are probably within 2 miles of me right now that do exactly what I do. That's not what makes me unique or interesting or different. You might have been unique when you started the business with the new idea that you had, but then you quickly fell into the habit of wearing all the hats and putting out the fires and doing all the things everybody else in that position does. So stop.
Very simple. All right. So 2 minutes, 28 seconds. Question number 6. What is one valuable free resource that you can direct people to that will further help with that problem?
So if they go to my website, lessdoing.com/resources, there is a ton of stuff there, including a template for a project management board that we use, the Inbox Zero course, which the email inbox problem is not an email problem. It is a decision-making problem. If you get better at that, you will be better at all sorts of other things, and a few other resources there as well.
Excellent. That's very generous. Thank you. And lastly, 1 minute and 50 seconds. Question number 7. What's the one question that I should have asked you but didn't that would give great value to our audience?
So that's always a fun one. I would say that probably along the lines of like, what are the areas that people should be automating and should be outsourcing most? And that would be something important. So I can answer that really quick.
Yeah.
My methodology is about optimizing, automating, and outsourcing. Outsourcing is the very last step. And most people will try to outsource first as a knee-jerk reaction to something they don't want to do or don't want to deal with. And it is a mistake. Because if you outsource something that is or delegate something that is inefficient, that you don't want to deal with, and you're expecting a more positive result than you were going to achieve yourself, you're setting everybody up for failure. So you have to start with optimization, looking at what you do first, how you do it, and really recognizing that you can't read the label from inside the jar. You know, somebody's got to you got to break out of that somehow so you can see what you're doing and how you're doing it. Once you do that, look at automation first, because if you try to give automatable work to a human being, you are in essence dehumanizing them. So we can automate things now that a week ago a person had to do, and most of it's for free. So look at automation first. And once you've done that, if there's anything else left over at that point, that's when you bring in a person, because they're either going to be insurance or an accelerant.
Beautiful. Well, thank you. It's been such a pleasure talking to you and having you on the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for checking out the Exhausted to Extraordinary podcast. If you like what we do here, head on over to iTunes to subscribe, like us, and leave us a review. It is very much appreciated. And if you're feeling burned out and want to challenge yourself, take the 7-day Burnout to Your Best Life Bootcamp. Go to 7dayburnoutchallenge.com to join for free.